Well, greetings to you all from the Meals on Wheels food pantry. This is where a lot of the food comes from, and if you make donations to the Meals on Wheels, this is where some of your donation goes to purchase these items. I'm here not because I wanted to feature Meals on Wheels, but because I thought of the fact that the Word of God is something we feed on spiritually. That's how we grow. And there's so much literature in the Bible, so many different kinds of literature, 66 books, many authors, thousands of years of time and wisdom, and yet it's got all kinds of different literature in it. Poetry, there's parables, there's historical narrative. I mean, if you ever hear somebody say the Bible's boring, have them read 1st and 2nd Kings. That'll excite their day. There's also letters, there's apocryphal writings like the Revelation and Daniel. So I think that sometimes we need to understand a little bit about this literature because it helps us in interpretation. And I wanted to focus on poetry today because, there's different kinds of poetry. Some of our poetry rhymes, some of it has meter structure, like a kind of a sing-song type effect. But the Jews had several different kinds of poetry that we're not necessarily used to. And if you understand some of this poetry and the way that it's used, I think it's almost like a key to unlock some of the more difficult passages. The one I'd like to feature today is called Parallelism or Synonymism. And it's where the same idea is expressed in several sentences. Now, what makes this good is the fact that if one of the sentences is hard to understand, you can look at the next sentence and get a further understanding of it. And one of the Old Testament ones that pops out to me is a famous benediction that's in Numbers 6:24 through 26. And as soon as I say it, you're going to recognize it. May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you, lift up the light of his countenance upon you and give you peace. Now, each of those, there's 3 sentences there, and each one has a couplet, 2 parts. But they're really saying exactly the same thing in a little different way. The Lord bless you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you. That's another way of saying the Lord give you blessing. And lift up his countenance. Just another way of saying the Lord wants to bless you. Now, in the New Testament, even Jesus gives us some of these examples, and one of them is actually in the Lord's Prayer. Stop and think for a moment. How many times have you said the Lord's Prayer in your life? Did you realize there was poetry within it? And in fact, there was this parallelism in the poetry. Now, this is only found in the Matthew version of the prayer, but how many times have you prayed, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil? Now, a lot of people have asked the question, I don't really understand, why is the prayer saying that? Why would God lead us into temptation? In fact, in James 1:13, James says that God does not lead anyone into temptation. So what is the prayer saying there? Well, I think what James is trying to tell us here is the fact that God is not the one leading us into temptation. In fact, let's look at the second part of that couplet. Deliver us from evil. Well, again, this goes back to the Greek word, and I know you're all really looking forward to that. But this evil is the Greek word paneros. Now, usually when evil is mentioned throughout the Bible, especially in the Greek versions, it's paneron. And I realize we're just talking one letter difference here, but boy, that makes a big difference in meaning and understanding. And, both evil is a noun, and you know from your English lessons, which some of you hated, that nouns can be a person, place, or thing. Well, when we talk about evil, we're oftentimes talking about the thing. That would be paneron. But paneros it's a masculine form talking about a person, actually a masculine person. And so it actually should read, deliver us from the evil one. And so what it's talking about, what the prayer is talking about is it's the evil one, it's Satan, who is the one who places temptations in front of us. You'll remember from the New Testament that Jesus for 40 days and 40 nights was tempted by the devil in the wilderness. And so he understands and knows what it means to go through those temptations. And because he was tempted in that way, I think we can take authority over the enemy and avoid those kind of temptations and be delivered from the evil one, the one who wants to lead us astray. Just one other quick one, and that is, if I was to say pride goes before, I think most of us would say a fall. That's what we remember from that verse. But what it actually says is pride goes before the destruction, and a haughty spirit before the fall. So here again, we have an explanation of the first part of the verse in the second part. And so we don't fall just because of the fact that of pride, but our haughty spirit oftentimes is what really brings us into a fall. So just some examples of ways that you can learn from the literature of the Bible and get a clearer understanding. And I hope I haven't muddied the waters there. My hope and prayer is I've cleared some things up for some people. And God bless you all as you study the Word.